So when I look at it, suppression motions are very, 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 they're the hardest to win. It's not about fairness. It is very much about the law, and the law is rarely on the defense's side when it comes to suppression of evidence. Military judges want evidence to come in, especially if it tends to build one case versus another, and there is reliability behind the evidence. So the important thing is that each suppression motion is built individually based off the facts and circumstances of the case you are dealing with. So the government might look to previous cases. Well, in this case, this came in and under these circumstances, but the problem with the government theory there oftentimes is that it's not about the last case. It's about this case. It's about the agents and the people in the room and in an interrogation. It's about the people, the tactics, and the client, right? Who are the people talking? What do they say? How do they say it? How much time goes by? What time is the interview held at? These are just some of the facts. It's anything you can think of that might generate a unreliable or psychological imposition on the subject of the interview. So you have to be able to write in a way that conveys all of this to the judge in a compelling fashion. It's difficult to write for a judge because judge doesn't respond to rhetoric. Judge responds to facts. But if you're able to sculpt emotion in a way that registers, you can register with anybody. It doesn't matter if they're, been a judge for the last 5 years or if it's just a human being sitting on a panel. So finding a way to do that in suppression motions is the trick. So a lot of times what I'll do, for instance, if you're sitting in an interrogation, the law says the subject, if they want to terminate the interview or invoke their rights, it has to be unequivocal, quote unquote, unequivocal. So what does that mean? So I would tell people it means, hey, you have to look the agent in the eye and say, hey, screw you. I want a lawyer and I don't want to talk to you. Who's going to do that? When you're an E3 in the military and you're dealing with two detectives, most people are pretty cowed. They follow orders. They want to cooperate. Their first instinct is not to say, hey, F you, I want a lawyer. That's what you see on The Wire or in, the civilian world. Military members aren't often like that, right? So the question is we brought up was, what are the magic words? What's this guy got to say? I need a lawyer for this, I think. I think I need a lawyer for this. So in the end, the way the military justice system is structured for suppressions and for interrogations is almost like, the way I put it was, it's like a person who is blind sitting in a room and says, I want to leave. And the agent then says, well, you're free to leave. All you have to do is find the exit. And there's mousetraps on the floor, by the way, right? So there's a certain amount of rhetoric you can use that registers to anybody that makes sense of it. What's an unequivocal, if I tell you, hey, I think I want a lawyer now, that means I want a lawyer. If I tell you, hey, I'd rather do this at a different time, that means I don't want to do this right now. So how do you convey those words? We were able to do that successfully in this case with a judge who got it. It also depends on the judge, right? So there's a lot of different factors that feed into a successful suppression motion. But at the end of the day, they are the most powerful motions. When one's granted, it's a big deal. It's the biggest of deals.
If you're a military service member and you've already made a statement or you've given an admission or a confession that isn't true, or you've had a cell phone seized, or there's evidence that looks damning on its face that you think is going to be used against you at trial, let me tell you what, all hope is not lost. You still can fight this. You can still take this case to trial and it can still be won. Give me a call at 813-669-3500 or do additional research at my website, BileckiLawGroup.com, and get us into the fight.